Hello, boys and girls. I was just getting ready for our science experiment for today. Thought of another science experiment for you to do in your very own home. And it's something that starts with the letter N, because your teachers told me that you're doing letter N this week. Now, one of your teachers, Mrs. Bassler, had gone on a nature walk outside. So I was thinking, nature, what a wonderful thing to use as a science experiment. So the first thing you need to do is you need to ask Mom and Dad first if it's okay, and you need to go outside on a nature walk with Mom or with Dad. Now, when you go on your nature walk, look at all the things like Mrs. Bassler was showing us. Look and listen to the birds. Look at the squirrels, and some of them might be digging up some of their nuts right now. And just enjoy that walk and that fresh air. Now, when you get home, that's when your work might start. It's not really safe to pick up things around the neighborhood. And you also don't want to pick things from people's yards because they might get a little upset with that. So when you get home, take a look around your yard and pull out some things in nature that could be really interesting to look at. Now, I'm a scientist, so I know the things that are safe and the things that aren't safe. But did you know that Mom and Dads know those things too? So always make sure before you pick something up that it's okay with Mom or Dad for this science experiment. So what you're going to do is get all your nature together, and I put mine in a basket. And I put on my basket, N is for, you can't see my pine cone's in the way, and so is my tree branch. N is for nature. Nature begins with letter N, nature. All right, now, once you've collected your nature things, you have to prepare the rest of your materials. Very important, being a scientist, you have to get all your materials ready before you start your experiment. So the first thing you'll need after you have your nature items is you will need some kind of a container. I'm using a see-through container so that you can see what's inside as we're doing our experiment. But you don't have to use a container like this. You could use a small bowl. You could use the bathroom sink. Maybe Mom or Dad would like you to do it there. Maybe if it's a warm day, you could even do it outside. But Mom or Dad can decide that with you. So you need to do what I did and fill your container with water, or fill your sink with water, which is all done right now. And it can be just cool, regular water. Then you need to have 2 containers, and one of them has the word sink. Now, it's not talking about a sink like a bathroom sink or a kitchen sink. The arrow is showing you something in the water. What does this word sink mean? It means something would go right down to the bottom, sink. So we're going to be watching if our nature things sink down to the bottom, or if our nature things, what's the opposite of sink? Like a boat. There's the word, float. And the arrows are pointing up, meaning it's on top of the water. So you can decide if your things sink or float by observation. Observation is a fancy word for you looking and watching what's happening. That's a sciencey kind of word. You guys are so smart. Okay, so let's get started with our experiment. Oh, the other thing that's important is to have a drying towel near you. So you want to get that out too. So you have that all prepared. So I have my drying towel because I want to dry my hands so I don't make a big mess for Mom or Dad to clean up. I'm a very careful scientist and very neat too. All right, so let's see what our first thing is. Anybody know what this is? Came from a pine tree. This is called a pine cone. So the pine cone, let's see if that's going to sink down to the bottom or float on top of the water. What do you think? What's your prediction? Your prediction is your guess. What do you think is going to happen? I think, I'm not going to tell you because I think I know what happens. I might be surprised though. Let's see. What does it do, boys and girls? Did it sink to the bottom or is it floating on the water? Look, it's bobbing up and down. It's floating. It's like a little pine cone boat. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little pine cone out, Shake it off a little bit gently right over my container so I don't make a mess. Dry it a little bit, and it floated. The one with the boat, it floats. Okay, so my pine cone floated. I also picked up a leaf, and this is an oak leaf. An oak leaf is from the oak tree, and the oak tree is what produces acorns. Those are the little seeds, the little things that fall off the oak tree that squirrels love to eat at this time. So let's see if a leaf sinks down to the bottom or floats on top of the water. Let's see. What does it do, boys and girls? It floats. So that's my second item. Gonna go over here. It's a floating thing. Okay. About, let's try this. Do you know what this is? You're right, it's a rock. Do you think this rock, which is kind of heavy, do you think it's going to sink down to the bottom or float up on top of the water? Let's check it out. Carefully. Oh, that sank right down to the bottom really quick. Did you see how that sank down? Did you notice what else happened? When the rock sank down to the bottom, something happened with the water. Watch this. The water's right here, and watch what happens when I put the rock. Did you see how the water level went up a little bit? Wow, I think the rock was pushing my water out of the way and moving it up. Pretty cool. Okay, carefully, I have to take this rock out because it's pretty heavy. So we know that one sank down to the bottom. Okay, let's try a smaller rock. I got a little flat one. What do you think this one's going to do? The big rock sank to the bottom, and that was pretty heavy. This doesn't feel so heavy to me. What do you think? That sank right to the bottom too. Okay, so it looks like rocks, and what rocks are made out of, sink down to the bottom. They are very dense, and they're filled with the dense material that a rock is made out of. So I don't know. Okay, now let's see, what else do I have? I also have a stick. So let's see what happens. This is a pretty big stick. Like my rock was pretty big. This is a pretty long stick. Not real heavy, but let's see. What do you think? Oh, it floats on top of the water. It's another floating one. Okay, we'll dry that one off. Put it in with float. Let's see what else I have. Oh, another thing from my oak tree. Do you remember what I said? The oak tree also makes acorns. And the squirrel didn't like it when I took the acorn because he's trying to gather all those acorns right now. He's a hungry little squirrel that we have in our backyard. So let's see what the acorn does. I'll set that in the water. Oh, it flipped over. I put it in with the little hat on the top and it flipped right over upside down. But what's it doing? Floating on top of the water. Okay, so that goes in with my floating items. Let's see what else I have here. Oh, I have a pine tree branch, different kind of pine tree than my pine cone came off of, but nonetheless a pine cone branch. Let's see what that does when I set it in the water. Oh, it went down a little bit, but oh, not touching the bottom. Oh, it's still floating in there. See, I can still push it around. It's still floating. Did go down a little bit further though than my leaf went down. My leaf didn't go down at all. So this was something that floated also. Now I have a couple other things in here that are from nature, but it's not something that I got in my yard. This was something that I got from my downstairs because when we go to the beach, we love to collect these. I am fascinated by shells and how they're made. Maybe we'll have to do that as another science lesson. But the shell is kind of cool. It kind of looks like a little bowl. So it has some air in here because there's nothing there. And then it's a rounded shell. So I'm going to try setting a shell in here and see what a shell does. Do you think a shell is going to sink or float? Hmm. What's it doing? It's floating. Now I wonder if things have air in them, sometimes that keeps them afloat a little bit more. Wonder what would happen if I would fill it up with water. If I fill the bowl part of it with water and then set it down. Let's see what happens. Did you see that? It sank right to the bottom. So the shell floats if it has air in the cup part of it, and it sinks if it gets filled up with water. Makes it heavier, sinks right down to the bottom. Oh my goodness. Wow, I guess that's why seashells are down on the bottom of the ocean floor, because they sink. Wow. Okay, so that's a tough one because it floated some of the time when it had no water inside of it, but when it was filled with water, it sank. I'm going to put that one right in the middle, and when you do your experiment, you can decide where you'd like to put it. All right, now I have one more thing that was very fascinating to me. What's this? An apple. And an apple is one of God's creations too. Delicious fruit it is. Now, apples are not growing at this time of the year, but we're so lucky here we can get them in grocery stores right now. So I got this apple, and this is actually going to be my lunch tomorrow. But I want to see if an apple sinks or floats. It's kind of heavy. It's kind of big like the rock. What do you think it's going to do? Let's see what it does. I'm going to set it in the water. Oh, it did not sink to the bottom. Whoa, look, it's bobbing up and down. It's floating. Wow, nature is so fascinating. So I'm going to take that out of the water. So that floated. My apple floats in the water. Isn't it amazing what we can do with science? Sink or float. So have some fun with it. Good luck, scientists, and let your teachers know how you do. Things that you find that sink, things that you find that float. It's all good and it's all fun, and you are wonderful scientists. Dr. ImCrazy signing off. Bye, boys and girls. Have fun.